welcome to another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I am your host, Kelli Melissa Reinhardt, and I know I say it all the time, but I am excited for my guest today. There are times in our lives that we go through certain events or situations, and it's life changing. It can also be very, very challenging, but we move through these times in our life. And then some people take that and they create amazing things. They also tell their story, which I think is so impactful. And part of the show is bringing guests who are either advocates or experts in the mental health space or those with lived experience, and just understanding that we're not alone. As humans, we're not alone, and we can tap into people within our community that can help us, that can share their stories. And yes, I'm going in circles, but I won't anymore. So let me tell you about my guest. Um, his name is Jose. He's a man of faith. He's a husband, a best-selling author. He's also a speaker and a resilient coach. He is a former CEO of CITGO Petroleum and was wrongfully imprisoned for nearly 5 years by the regime of Nicholas, I'm probably going to pronounce it horrible, so I'll let him say it, in Venezuela. As part of the CITGO 6, the number 6 case, an experience that forever transformed his life and purpose. So today he's going to share a little bit of his story. Also, he shares that through his books, his speaking, the podcasts, TV shows that he goes on, and the foundation, like really building a foundation to help others heal, rise, and live with a truly unbreakable spirit. So, without further ado, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me. And thank you for this wonderful introduction, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know, so we actually went on another show together, and it was with Tiamra. And so I got to hear a brief bit of your story because there were, what, three or four of us on there. So
Mhm.
I would love for you to just share with the audience more about this story.
Well, by the way, my case today pop up to the top of because of that capture of Nicolás Maduro. That was the guy who captured us. As you mentioned, I was the CEO of CITGO Petroleum here in the U.S. I started my career in the oil and gas in Venezuela because I'm Venezuelan born, and I came here to the U.S. in 2012. 2012 as a signee. So I didn't come like a normal immigrant. I came like a international executive appointed to this company that belongs to PDVSA, that is from the Venezuelan government. So I came here and continued my career path. And at the end of my career, 5 years after, I was the president of the company here in the U.S. And the people that doesn't know, Citgo Petroleum is very well known here because it has more than 6,000 gas stations in the U.S. and it's the sixth largest refinery here in the U.S. So for me, being an immigrant and being the CEO of this that big company was a big deal. So, but everything happened for some reason because that was during the first Trump administration, and Trump was trying to throw out this guy, and look how the picture ended. Okay, but he was trying to do it, but in his first term, he was trying to use more like diplomacy things and try to force from economical sanctions. So he didn't was using the force. He was using more like a tactics. It didn't work, of course, because this guy stayed in power until he was taken recently. But the point was that during that time, that was 2017, me being the CEO of Citgo that belonged to Venezuela, I was kind of caught in the middle of these two things, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and I told my wife that I was ready to get retired because by that time I already had 35 years in the company. So I took the decision that even I was in the pinnacle of my career, for me it was better to get retired and get, all that noise out of my life. So now I flew to Venezuela, talked with my boss, and he back and forward accepted my retirement. And that happened in October 2017. So he told me that give me, Jose, give me 4 months to find a replacement. So I was supposed to get retired in February next year. So I was now in my retiring mode. And 1 month after, I was in a movie with my wife, and I received a call, and it was my boss asking me to go to a presentation to Venezuela. It was an urgent presentation, and for me, was normal core of business because normally they did it that way. Say, so I was, I'm getting retired. Okay, that will be my last presentation. So I flew with my 5 vice presidents, and we did the presentation. The funny thing is that we did the presentation. And when I was finishing the presentation to go to the airport to take the plane and come back to Houston and begin my new life, I was taken by the guards of the counterintelligence police of that country, and we were accused to be American spies. And was fake, but was because they wanted to take us and leverage with Trump, and we became the political pawns of the tension between the U.S. and Venezuela. And it took us 5 years to come back after a prisoner swap. So that was the end of the story. I came back to the prisoner swap of the two nephews of Nicolás Maduro.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, wow. I mean, you're like I am about to retire. It's fine, right? Like I'm ready and I'll do my time. And then you like actually have to do time and oh my gosh. I couldn't even imagine. So you were in prison in Venezuela.
Yeah, we were put in. There are two big dungeons of Venezuela that today have popped up because there are a lot of political prisoners, and one of the commitment that after the taking of Maduro, that Trump is doing with through Marco Rubio with the new authorities that are temporarily there, is that they had to dismantle those two dungeons.
Mm.
I stayed in both. If you go to my book, let me try to show it to you here. This was the dungeon. It's called the Helicoide. So I stayed in this place 2 years and a half, and these were the guards that took us. They use those type of masks so you cannot see their faces, and they're very scary, by the way, because these are torture centers, so for the political prisoners.
Wow. So you're executive, right, of a very wealthy, well-off petroleum company, living in Houston, and then all of a sudden life completely changes.
Mhm.
And I mean, going to I for me, prison scares the crap out of me, period, in the United States, right? I couldn't imagine in another country, although I know you're from the country, but it's still like not as like the US. I don't know. I feel like we're
But the thing that the people cannot imagine, and for your audience, these are not normal prisons.
yeah,
These are prisons for political prisoners. So the
gotcha.
people that were with me were not normal prisoners. We were with the high stake people that were a opposition of the regime. So
Mm,
I was with, congressmen. I was with lawyers. I was with a priest, pastors, and human rights leaders, and politicians, militaries, a lot of militaries. I was with generals. So we were really with high-ranked people that were there because they were against the regime, and these dungeons were designed to break you,
mm,
to break you. So these are not a normal prison. These are centers of torture.
gotcha. Yeah, and that's. I mean, I couldn't imagine what you went through for 5 years and having to go. I mean, you were in both of them, which I'm sure they were very different and very hard. So my brain's like, oh my gosh, I want to ask you like all the questions around like, I mean, how did you survive 5 years? I guess is a question my brain goes to.
Well, this is a question that have been made, I don't know, thousands of time, and honestly, I always think the answer has to do with a mix of God and my family. God and my family. This is the only way I can answer this because my first year, I was thrown in a place called the submarine, and I stayed 1 year in solitary confinement with the light 24/7 turned on. I didn't have running water. I didn't have fresh air. I didn't have windows. I didn't have food. I stayed days without eating. I lost 100 pounds. I went through a lot of things. I suffered bronchitis, pneumonia, COVID, a heart attack. I went through a lot of things, and I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I can only explain this because of God and because of my family, because my family really fight a lot. My family and the other five families. Because remember, we were six guys with six families. And the other thing was that after 1 year of that solitary confinement, because it's crazy what's happening today in Venezuela, because it really has popped up all my memories, because that happened in November 2017. During all that 2018 began to be the negotiation to pressure to get us released. And Trump, that was in office, he appointed a guy called Elliot Abrahams that was negotiating a release, and Mike Pompeo, that was the Secretary of State of that moment, and Mike Pence. So there was a high people negotiating a release, but the negotiation with Maduro were not going good, and they went so bad that they recalled the two ambassadors. It's crazy that the embassies reopening this week after all those years. Is reopening this week because
Right.
they recalled the ambassador because our case was the what finally broke the relations. They stopped the negotiation. There was no contact, so we were left behind. And what the U.S. government did was they contacted the UN, and the UN flew to Caracas and began to negotiate among the U.S. The UN, can you imagine that the UN and the Pope and the
Mm,
Pope, the UN and the Pope begin to intervene, and after 1 year they put us in another place with my other five colleagues. So now, with after 1 year, we were put together the six, and that really made that change because now we're six guys trying to survive. All of us. The other thing that is blow my mind because it's God, because we were six guys randomly chosen, and all of us had 30 plus year married.
wow.
All of us had 30 plus year married, 31, 32, 33. All of us long-term marriage. So that came for us like a wow, this is crazy. How can this happen? And that created an immediate connection because let me tell you, we were not friends. We
Mm,
were colleagues, not friends. Because this is very typical when you're in a big company that you know the people, but you don't know their stories. You know, they're colleagues. You see in the meeting saying, "Hello, how are you? How's your family?" But you don't know their story. Now we're there, and we begin to realize that the six of us had kids, grandsons, and more than 30 years married, and that really created a connection, a bond, because now all of us has reasons to survive, and
mm.
we begin to, cheer each other to survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like I've been in big corporations myself and yeah, it's true. It's like little tiny pieces of people's story, but you never really truly know them. So, I mean, that's great that you guys were all put together finally, right? And being able to be in that space together, but I still just being in that space. I know it was really, really hard. And so my I'm also thinking about because I am in Colorado. Um we had so many things and this is kind of moving forward a little bit, but when we talk about like Venezuela and we talk about all the things that were happening, right, on the political climate, but
Yeah,
also
you had
inside.
trend that agua was in Colorado, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just curious, like, I in my brain, there's a lot of negativity that is associated with Venezuela. That's where my brain is going. And I think it's because I'm also thinking about the mental health aspect that you guys had to survive this space. You kind of found each other. You figured out that you had all been married for 30 plus years. Now you have this hope, you have this light that you're going towards, not knowing if you're ever going to get out. You know that there are people that are trying to help and trying to get you out. But all of you at that point, was everybody in Texas? Was it everybody was US based at that
Yeah,
point?
yeah, we all of us was in Texas. Only one was in Louisiana, but the other five were in Texas. And let me clarify something now that we're talking about the Venezuela and the Trinidad, all this stuff that unfolded this year. These guys were, because Maduro, that was finally taken, that was a murderer, a terrorist, a very evil person. So this guy, what eh, he took all these bad people from the Venezuelan jail, people that were even having mental health issues, very bad people, and they sent it here to the U.S. So this is not a typical Venezuelan, because if you go to Venezuelan, that unfortunately there's more than 9 million Venezuelan in the diaspora all over the world. If you do a poll on the Venezuelan, I can tell you, you will find that maybe 80 to 85% of the 9 million people
Mm,
are professionals, very well educated, that had to flee from the country because of Maduro. Because Venezuela, people are not aware, but Venezuela was the wealthiest country in Latin America.
wow.
The wealthy, that in the top of Latin America, that
Mm,
was Venezuela. Venezuela was the second oil producer of the world. Venezuela has the biggest oil reservoirs of the world. That's why today Donald Trump is so focused in Venezuela, because Venezuela became very strategic right now. So the trend that I will those stuff was something that Maduro did to hurt Trump, because they had this personal thing, and unfortunately this guy is gone. This
yeah.
guy is gone. The Tren de Aragua is gone, and now the Venezuela is in a transition, and the American companies are thinking to return back to Venezuela. Kelly, I was in the 90s. I did more than 30 years in the oil and gas. Believe me, I know a lot what happened in the past. So I was, for reason of God, in the 90s, I was the officer that took care
Mm,
when all the American companies came. I was in Venezuela, and I handled all the coming of that. When ExxonMobil, Conoco, Shell, all these companies came, I was the officer that was appointed in that. So I know what is going to happen now, because that process was called the apertura petrolera, the oil opening, was a privatization of the sector. I call this new process apertura petrolera part 2, because that's so what's going to happen. I'm very excited that I see that finally Venezuela is going to have light after the tunnel, and we're going to come back. The country is going to come back. We have now the leader of the opposition, that is Maria Corina Machado, a very smart lady, the Nobel Peace Prize. She's going to become the president of Venezuela when finally they do the new elections, and Venezuela is going to come back. It's going to come back, and she has said it. She wants Venezuela to become the new energy hub of the Americas, and I truly believe it. I truly believe it's going to happen.
yeah, that's amazing. So I'm so fascinated by you and your story and all the things. We do have to go our quick first sponsored break, but once we get back from that, we'll chat some more. So we'll be right back after this sponsored break.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
1 in 8 people globally live with a mental disorder.
That's why empowering minds saves lives.
We need your help.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
Hi everyone, I am Sinead from Brador. I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. Please join me in my Power Hour every Sunday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on E360 TV. Mwah!
And like that, we're back. If you happen to be just tuning in to the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much, whether you are watching or listening. My guest Jose and I are talking about his experience as the CITGO 6. If you haven't heard of it in the past, go back and watch the beginning of this because he just shared his story and experience, or go look it up. But also, what I love that you just said right before we went to the break is that because in the past, right, when I thought of Venezuela, I also thought of it being just like this a wealthy country and just like this beautiful place that is amazing. And then when we had all of what you just said is that he sent all the bad people to America because whatever reason, right, between him and Trump. But then we got this negative story in our brains of like, well, nobody wants to be there, nobody, right, like it just negative all around. But I love the fact that things are shifting and transitioning for Venezuela specifically, but also I guess my brain kind of also goes to like in America. Okay, this probably is going to sound really weird, but like we're wrangling people and putting them in camps, which is almost like a reflection of like where you were held at, and they're scary people. And I mean, just the masks like you were showing, why, like, it makes me so mad that we're doing this to humans. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts about how
Well,
we're handling it.
yeah. Well, this is really the situation that unfortunately there has been a lot of noise, a lot of situation that b- honestly the Venezuelan doesn't deserve what's going on because people has gone so much suffering to your audience because this is a complex thing to understand, and I understand that Americans are not so familiar. It's difficult to understand, but the point is that in the last 25 years, when first Chavez took the power in 1998, he died in 2013, and after that Maduro took office until today. So they had 25, 26 years. They literally stole the country, and they created, that was not a government, that was more like a mob, like a they were like gangsters, that very very bad people, and they were surrounded with really really very bad people because who were the allies of Maduro? The Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, and the Cubans, the Hezbollah, Hamas, and the guerrilla of Colombia. Seriously, all the bad people of the world was in Venezuela. We are not like that. These guys that stole the country. So a few people decided to steal the country, and it was so bad that more than 9 million people decided to leave the country. They didn't have no way to live in the country because or maybe they got killed, or maybe they go to jail, or maybe they starve. So you're killed, or you go to jail, or you're starved. So the people decided, okay, let me go to another country to have a life, and mostly came. And by the way, the major of that 9 million were not here in the U.S. Here in the U.S. Were like 600,000 Venezuelans. Colombia has like 3 million. Peru has like 1 million. Chile has like 1 million. Spain has like 2 millions. So that Venezuela are all over the world, but not in the US. The biggest diaspora is not here. But the people that came here, now they're having all these immigration issues. Oh, wow, it's crazy. That the people don't deserve, because believe me, when you know the people of Venezuela, the people of Venezuela are very friendly, very hard workers. As I said, very professional. So when we begin to see all these things with the Tendaragua, I always said I don't get identified with these people. That people doesn't represent me. I cannot be represented with, because these guys are thieves, are criminals. But unfortunately, that's what Maduro did. The good news is that guy is gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's, I mean, I thank you for like really explaining that, because it's like one bad apple, right? Can all make
Yes. I
everybody else.
understand that,
Yeah.
and I can concur, because let me tell you, I try to put my shoes in, as you, for example, as American. If I was in Venezuela and then comes up people from Peru and begin to steal the people and kill the people, maybe there can be 5 or 6 guys. But now I said all the Peruvians are bad.
Right.
That's not true. Unfortunately, that's
No.
not true.
No, and I think that's, I mean, in general, so like, at least for me, I really try to holistically say we're all human, right? It doesn't matter where we came from, who we love, race, gender, ethnicity, right? Like, we're all human. We're
Mhm.
all the form of a human, and it is so sad. Like, I actually have a really hard time watching the news, and my husband is actually my news reporter, I feel like, because he has all the news apps. But he keeps me a little bit up to date. But I also, like, I try to keep all the noise out, and then I try to like reflect on, I mean, all these people are unfortunately getting lumped into where they don't need to be, and now things are happening, and it just makes me really, really sad that we've gotten to
But let
this
me tell
point.
you, but there is a good news for us, the Venezuelan, that because of the transition that now is happening in my country. This is not finished, because Nicolás Maduro was the head of the cartel,
uh,
but he has other members that are still there. There is a transition process that will finalize with the new elections. And these guys have to be kicked off, and I don't know what's going to happen with this guy. But the thing is that once this transition, that is going to take some time, but it's going to happen, because this is irreversible, the process. So once these new people come, the Maria Corina, the Nobel Peace Prize, that she's a smart lady, has a. By the way, most of the people that were with me, political prisoner are going to become part of the new government, because they were the opposition of Maduro. So now they're going to be released, and they're going to become part of the new government. So the point is that once this happened, and all the institutions are changed, the rule of law comes back to the country, and the American companies come back as they did in the past. They recover their assets that were stolen. They begin the production again. All the Venezuelans are going to come back. The people that lost their job, they're going to come back. Because if I was a CEO of Chevron or Exxon, I will be very happy that go back to Venezuela and bring back all these people that worked with me in the past, that I can have. I had the people already trained. You don't have to train nobody. The people know. So this is going to be a win-win situation to everybody. What's going to come? The American company are going to win. The country is going to win. The people are going to win. I believe this is going to be at the end the solution of the people that right now are all over the world. It's sad, because you can see a lawyer driving a car as a Uber,
oh, yep.
or a doctor being a Uber here. So they can come back and do what they know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I love that you put it that way, is that, it's not all negative, right? Like, there's a lot of positive things that are happening, and people will be able to return to the country that they knew and loved, and being able to do the things that they were trained and skilled to do, because
Kelly, I can tell you, we the Venezuelan, we're never immigrants. Let me tell you, people doesn't know the story of Venezuela, but Venezuela was so wealthy that let me tell you, let me put it this way. After the World War II finished, we had a big immigration from Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Lebanon. A lot of people from these four countries. Then came a wave of people that came from China. And then came a wave of people that came from all Latin America because the only democracy that was in place in Latin America was Venezuela. It was funny. Was the only democracy. The other countries were having dictatorship. So we had a lot of Chileans, Colombians. So what is happening today was the opposite. So we were always accepting immigrants. Venezuela was the place where all the immigrants wanted to be. Now Venezuela begin to immigrate, but the situation when it's reverted is going to come back. That people are going to return to the country because Venezuela is a wonderful place. I'm not going to return because I have all my life here. I have my family here, my kids, my all. But many people are going to return. But I want to go back to visit friends. I want
Yeah.
to go to the beach of Venezuela. They're very beautiful, by the way. I
Yeah.
want to take a boat and go to the beach, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna go to our last quick sponsor break, and then once we get back, we'll chat a little bit more too. So we'll be right back after this.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Kelli, host of the Make Mental Health Matter show, impact lives?
Number 1. Awareness.
My story, all over it, isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
2. Conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question because it is different and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3. Education.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
We're back again. If you are just tuning in or listening or watching to the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much. Jose, I am just something that popped up into my head. I'm curious, like, what was, if you had a biggest lesson or something that you would want to tell the audience about your experience? Like, what is that overarching thing that you probably learned the most throughout this whole process?
Well, that's a good question. And by the way, I mentioned it deeply in my book, because The way I tried to write my book was not only telling the story of what happened, because it will be a suffering story. I really wanted to tell the story how I decided to make things to survive, and not only to survive, to understand the lessons behind. And let me tell you, there are several things, but as I mentioned, first, God, for me, the encounter with God for me was key. I was a man that was raised in a Catholic family, because Venezuela is very Catholic. But I was so focused in my corporate life that I have literally abandoned God. So I had a encounter with God during that time. And when I said a encounter, it was a deeply encounter with God, because we were going to a situation that we saw, reading back the Bible situation that we were going through. So we were literally going through things that we were reading in the Bible. So it was something that for us was like a wow. So it was really a aha moment. The other thing was the connection with as I said, with our peers that we created. We created something that we call it the survivor plan. And it's funny because my coaching program that I have today is based on that experience, because look what we did. We were six guys with a lot of expertise in the oil and gas. All of us have years of experience, but in different disciplines. And for example, I had one of our guys, our colleagues, he was a marathon runner. He was a marathon runner. So he was in charge to train us. So we begin to take care of our physical health through a training session that he created for us. There was a guy that he was an expert in tank handling. We didn't have running water. We had a tank. So he was in charge that we never had running out of water. During years, we never had one day without water. He really managed it very well. We have a guide, for example, that he was the PRVP of the company. He was in charge of all the communications. Well, I have one of my colleagues, he was like the priest of the group. He was in charge of the praying sessions and the reading the Bible. And I was kind of the coordinator of the group. So we all of us took activities, and we created a way that we were only having daily routines on a daily basis during years, and that made us survive. And the connection with our family, because the other thing is, as I said, we had these families that loved us so much, and our family created something that was you see this flag, this is the wrongfully detained flag. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So this flag today is official flag. It's a federal flag. It was a creation after our family, with other 20 families that had families in other countries, in other all over the world, people that were capturing in Russia, in Iran, China, etc. We got together, all those we know my family with those family, because we were in jail at that moment, and they create something called the Bring Our Family Home campaign. Okay, and so the Bring Our Family Home campaign that today exists. By the way, it was in charge when the Hamas, the people that were taken in Israel. That campaign was created. My family was one of the founders of that foundation. And all those families, they begin to get together, and they begin to do a lot of noise. A noise in the press, pressures to the government. They created in Georgetown, in Washington. There is an alley where there is a mural with the faces of the people. It's a big mural where, like today is like a sanctuary, and it began to make a lot of pressure. And after 6 months of that big pressure, I came back.
Wow.
So that made the government take the decision to do the prisoner swap. Because let me tell you, the problem that happens when you get caught in a situation like I got, this is something that is called the hostage diplomacy. It's very difficult, because you have to put together bipartisan people to take the decision to do whatever they have to do. It's not an easy call. Sometimes you have to do a negotiation that you don't like it. For example, in our case, we were swapped by the two nephews of Maduro. They were here in a federal prison because they were drug dealers. So they got a presidential pardon to get a swap. That's how I'm here today here. So what is the lessons that I can tell to the people that when you, and this is something that today I mirror in my personal experience today. If you have any dream in your life, you have to pursue it, and you have to stick to it. And no matter how many times you fall, you have to stand up and never give up, because that's what happened to us. We never gave up. We always was thinking that we were going to come back, and we got stick to it. And the day they got us released, we were ready to come back.
That's amazing. So it's like you almost had the perfect six people that ended up going with you, that you all really tapped into what you do best, and you were able to like have that daily routine, which I
We
think is
created like a
amazing.
boardroom, and let me tell you, at the beginning I was crazy because there was too many brains,
Oh.
too many smart people there, and it was difficult to take decisions. At the end, when we got decided, okay, you take care of this, you take care of this, you take care. So okay, we organized the thing, and it worked for the rest of the time. We stayed years doing it.
That's amazing. And then I love that you just said that you also created a coaching program
Mhm.
from what you learned.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I have this coaching. It's called the Unbreakable Leadership Coaching Program. So this is a coaching program where I go through all what we went through. I created a lot of, I do this 101. So I walk through leaders that are going through issues in their companies or maybe in their life. And we try to mirror situation we went through there, that it worked for us. I always tell the people, it worked for me because I'm here. So if I can do it, you can do it. What you have to do is believe that you can do it and do it. Because there is something that I want to finalize saying this. We are creatures of God, all of us. All of us has that unbreakable spirit inside. So everybody's a leader inside. You don't know it. That sometimes people say to me, "Oh, Jose, I will never do what you did." Yes, you will. If this happened, you will do it. But you need to believe that you can do it. So when you're going to a situation, you don't have to be in that situation I went through, but you can be going through anything in your life. So you decide to stop and say, okay, this is real, this is happening. I'm gonna face it. I'm gonna handle this. I'm not gonna do it alone. I'm gonna ask for help, and let's do it, and let's move it, and you will get there.
Yeah, that's such a powerful message too, is that, I mean, not that everybody's going to be in prison, but like people, whatever situation or thing that they're going through, they build it up so big that it's just like impossible for them to do. But just like you said, is if you put your mind to it, you can get through anything. And asking for help, I think, is that key piece, right? Like that whole year that you were in the submarine, that you didn't have access to anything, you still survived, but once you were able to get out, and then you had the other five people that now you guys figure out this plan, and you like who does what, and
Mhm.
then that takes you through for 3 to 4 more years, right?
Mhm.
And then you take that and you translate it into a coaching program for leaders that maybe don't believe in themselves, but it's
Mhm.
like it worked. And I
It
know
works.
that it can help you too. You just have to believe in yourself. So
Not
that is
only
incredible.
not only that, I did something else. I created a foundation that is starting now, that is called Angels Helping in Earth, because I went through a process that I had to go through my trauma recovery, because I was having PTSD event. And by the way, my therapist today is my partner, and one of the director of the big trauma recovery center that I went. He did the prologue of my book. So Brian Klosner was the prologue of my book, and we are friends today, by the way. But but I decided to transform this in something to help others that are going through trauma, for the recovery, basically in the Hispanic community. Because let me tell you something. We were talking about the Venezuelans, but this can happen to any other country. The Venezuelan flew to here because they were trying to escape the country, because or they were killed, or they will be in jail, or they will starve. So the people come here with trauma. And now they're having the immigration thing, more trauma. Nobody's taking care. If you don't take care of these people, you're creating generational trauma because it's going to be transferred to their kids and to their grandkids, and then you're creating a mess. So the intention of the foundation is to help them how to they can deal with that trauma. So my therapist, that I have a weekly session with my therapist, and she became partner of my foundation. So my foundation basically that's the main goal of the foundation.
I love that. And it's so true. And I also know from others that have told me, especially in the Hispanic community, is sometimes we just don't talk about mental health. Like it's
No,
very taboo, so we don't even talk about it.
in the Hispanic culture, talking about mental health, if you talk, they will see you like this guy is crazy. The only Americans, Latin Americans that talk openly are the Argentinians. I don't know
Mm.
why. In Argentina, everybody has a therapist. It's very common. It's the only country in Latin America that talks openly about mental health, the Argentinians. But if you go to a Mexican, Costa Rican, Colombian, Venezuela, whoever, nobody talks about mental health. That is a taboo.
Yeah. And I think that we need to start, right? Like I think that and I know that you've been in the United States for a very long time, but I think that I mean this is a global show. So like anybody that is out there watching or listening, I mean, yes, it can be really, really hard to have those conversations, but like you just said, I mean, therapists, going to a therapist every single week, or at least having somebody to talk to, right? I think that can be
Mhm.
beneficial. But I also love that you started this foundation that helps people move through their trauma because just like you had you just forgotten or tried to forget about it, or you just would have like shoved it down, you would have still had this PTSD, and there's no way you would have been able to share your experience and your story, which is so powerful. So I love that you also created a foundation around helping people.
Yeah, yeah. I had a blessing that when I came back, I'm very connected today with the foundations that work with the hostage community here in the U.S.
Mm.
So one of them, Hostage U.S., they have a program, and that since day one, they appointed me to the program, and that's where I met Daisy, and she became my very good friend, and now is my partner in my foundation.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's just, I mean, there's so many layers of this experience that you've taken and you've made things better for yourself, but your family helped in that too, as they found a need that probably nobody, not nobody, but not a lot of people would know that exists, right? Like
Mhm.
that there's these political prisons. Yes, we've heard of them, but I don't think it really, I don't know. For me, I'm like, I don't understand it fully. So I love one that you wrote the book, but you did it in the hope and the light and bringing all of the things together and your understanding. And then also you're sharing your story everywhere and anywhere that you can possibly. But I think it started with that noise that you were talking about. Like the families started making noise and
Yeah.
people start listening. So yeah, I think that that's a key part also.
Yeah. So true. So true. Yeah, I decided to tell my story because my pastor of my church, he always says something that the power of the testimony is that when you share your story and how God transformed you, how God did the miracle. Because I came back as a miracle. For sure, it was a miracle. Not only coming back, I went this week to the doctor to do my yearly testing. I'm like a baby today. So all the thing I went through is everything is gone. Everything is
Wow.
gone. So I don't have absolutely nothing today.
So I guess the other question that I have is, were you able to retire?
Oh yeah, I got retired. I got retired. Yeah, at the end I got retired, and it's funny because with what is happening today in Venezuela, you know, I was when I came back, I didn't want to know absolutely nothing about the oil and gas. I was done with that, and now that there is happening the thing in Venezuela, the one of the advisor of Maria Corina Machado was my former boss, and so I'm beginning to have calls to people that want me to advise. So I'm trying to think the way I can help without not getting involved again, but maybe doing some kind of advice, because I love my country. I really think that I can have things that I can say to help. So I was not thinking in that is coming back.
Yeah. Hey, you never know because I mean, you've been through so much that I think it would be very helpful to have your voice, be a part of that. So I would love for you to share a little bit about if somebody wants to find your book or they want to do some coaching with you, how can they find you?
I have my webpage that is joseconnect.com. If you go to joseconnect.com, you will find there everything, because there is a landing page for the book. There is the author page where you can find the book in English, in Spanish, and I have also another book that I wrote that is called, I have it here, let me show it to you. I wrote this book that is called Unbreakable. I wrote it recently, and this book is leadership lessons based on biblical principles. So things that I learned during my stay in my prison, that reading the Bible, I decided to go back and said, okay, if you want to be a good leader and you want to do this, everything you can find it in the Bible. So that's what I did. Uh, and so you can find the book there. You can find my coaching program there. You can find my speaking, because I'm doing speaking. By the way, I'm doing today speaking about what's going on in Venezuela. I did a conference recently, and I was in Miami this weekend in a big event also. So things have been evolving, but the speaking, the coaching, and the book is there. I'm a TV host today. I have my own program called Unbreakable Leaders in Spanish, and I have my podcast that is called Building Resilience. So if anybody wants to be my guest, also can contact. Everything you can find it there.
Amazing. And those of you that are listening, it's Jose, Jose Connect, CONNECT.com, that you can go find those. All of those things on there. And any final words that you want to share with the audience?
Well, as I said, one of the biggest challenge to the people in their life, not only in the business, in their life, is understanding if you're walking in your why. That's the first thing. Sometimes the people are not feeling satisfied with what's going on in their life because they're not walking in their why. So the first thing that you have to do is make you that question to your inner voice, if you're walking in your why. And if you're walking in your why and you believe that this is your why and this is your purpose, and for any reason you're not there, continue, pursue it. Don't see you where you are today, see you where you want to be. Visualize yourself, and once you do that, go for it, my friend. Never give up. Never give up.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jose, for coming on. I'm so honored for you to share your story and just show people, like, no matter what you've been through, you can get through it. And the cool part is that you also have steps to be able to help people do that through leadership. So thank you so much for being an amazing guest. I so appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, y'all, that was another amazing episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I love my guests. Every single time I have somebody on, the hope is that you find maybe a piece of people's story that you may or may not relate. I've had a couple people actually on the show that have been to prison, people that you probably wouldn't even think that would have ever gone to prison. And it's just so fascinating to hear stories of what people have been through and how they've taken all of that and made it better, right? How they get through and create this space for people, other humans, to be able to get through whatever they're going through. And I think a key piece is we also have to work through that trauma. We have to figure out not figure out, but like, who can we talk to? Is it a therapist? Is it a coach? Is it a friend? Is it a family member, right? Like, we need to be able to work through that trauma so that we can go to this space of hope, this space of light that we can start to help others. All right, that was a little bit of a extension, but no matter what you do, make sure you come back next Monday. I go live every single Monday at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. on Dream Vision 7 Radio, or you can watch on E360 TV at 5 p.m. Mountain Denver time. I'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.